You're such an asshole.
So I recently had this idea, and I apologize if this is not. I was going to write it on the blog. I probably will still because it's one that needs to be thought out clearly and concisely. But a guy paid for an original. It's Dami. Here it's hey, Cappy. This is Dami on Twitter. He's the guy who hooked me up with Hotep Jesus. Was interesting. Oh, which by the way was a good interview. He freaking Hotep. You should tune into his channel, but he knows how to spar. He's fun. He's fun sport. Interested, pay for original video for you. I always enjoy your takes. And in the true spirit of supporting content creation, I would like to support your work. Just let me know how much. Send it over. So, yeah, so I enjoy doing originals. If you ever want to pay me to do an original, I have lots of ideas. Many times I never get them. So this is like one of the more important ones because it has some longevity to it. This is looking forward in the future. So, Dami, you're about my age. We're in our 40s. We remember the day maybe when us kids would work, maybe we shovel a yard or shovel a driveway, rake a yard, go collect cans or something like that. But what I have noticed in my now approaching 5 decades on this planet is a decay in the quality and caliber of Americans. And you can measure that however you want. You can measure it with a labor force participation rate, number of hours worked per week, non-numerical statistics where everyone just majors in stupid stuff, although you can measure that. But more so, I guess maybe anecdotally, where you step outside, you take it in. The non-mathematical anecdotal, you look in like, I know it may not seem relevant or tangent, but adults wearing onesies in public, like pajamas with a big head, they're wearing onesies in public. I smell pot everywhere, and I'm pro freedom of doing your drugs. What else? People just getting fat and ugly, having no decorum or etiquette or modesty when they go out in public. I just see a general decay. And the two main things, we could talk about mental health and all that, but the two main things I see a decay in is the average American being willing, and after you sit and be inactive long enough, being even able to support yourself, right? Being a self-supporting individual versus being parasitic. And two, their mental stability. In part because they've been conditioned to, America's divided across many different trait lines, among other lines. I don't know how many times I've told that younger generations have been programmed. Their value and purpose and agency and reason in life has been to be this heroic SJW. I used to call it crusaderism. You want to see how ahead I was against crusaderism? I think I was like 33 or 34. Go look up my video series on crusaderism, which was just predicting SJWism, where instead of getting a real job, their ego is so high, so big, they got to go in more modernly, what young people are told today, solve race relations. That's never going to get solved. Solve poverty, not going to happen. But all of that is ultimately they're lazy, don't want to work a job. So the productive class is dwindling, the parasitic class is expanding, and the American population is becoming less and less stable mentally. I'd say I genuinely think most people are mentally ill to some level, to the point they cannot. What would you define as mental illness? That you're not producing and supporting yourself, for one, but two, you cannot function in society. I'd also say a very close third is that your value is ultimately telling other people what to do and being a tyrant. That's your ultimate value, is your politics. So you follow me all so far. Now, those of us in the United States who kind of look at, because we got to live here in this community of largely increasing lazy people, parasites, and filth. I don't like it. You don't like it. Nobody likes it. Even the people who are parasitic, they're angry, perpetually angry and upset because that's how they're programmed to be. But then it started to dawn on me where I have had no success in convincing the American body politique, the American people, and this goes beyond left and right. It also includes conservatives, Republicans. It's simply not like everyone to do basic common sense things. Don't invest in .coms in 1998. Don't buy a house in 2006, 2000. Don't make that loan. Don't major in stupid stuff. I've never been able to get people to change their behavior. But what's worse is the insults and the hatred I get in response. Where, hey, you really ought to lose weight, otherwise you're not going to get a guy. Why do you hate women? Quite literally, anyone who disagrees with me is a Nazi, and I want to ruin their lives on top of it. They become hostile. And what that indicates to me is that these people are addicted to this laziness, this sloth, this parasitism, and their political ideology, that there's no negotiating with them. I think I even did a video. Oh, the NPCs, maybe watch that. And that's the best way to put it. We have essentially an increasing percentage of the U.S. population becoming mean, violent or violent-prone NPCs. You cannot reason with them, and they're also parasitic. And that is what I've always hearkened back. We're tying in a lot of things, but just hear me out. The biological incentive an increasing number of Americans have to that results in this laziness is they don't want to work. They are lazy. Laziness is an inherent human trait. It's how we conserve energy. It was a direct, that was one of the main things, that because food was not common, you need to conserve your calories of energy. So that is a huge pushing force for people to avoid real work. Well, that's why we have social justice majors and diversity and inclusion majors and not enough engineering majors. But then on top of it, people have been giving the operating system to place that parasitism, socialism, and all of its variants, whether that's feminism, environmentalism, rank socialism. I've talked about this before. That gives them value, purpose, and meaning. So their ego is fed. So they are fanatics now. Imagine this: fanatic, incapable of thinking NPC robots whose fanaticism is about the parasitism and the traits they were born with and how they're entitled to other people's money. See where we're going now? Now, this is a month old, if that, observation I had. Do you know, or a better question, let's say these parasites, for like NPC parasites, they get everything in the United States. You think they're going to stop there? And that's what I realized, is they are so brainwashed, so fervent, so radical, and they so hate work that you get they'll take and do anything to avoid work. And this is where you get the homelessness. Some people are so afraid of work, they'd rather just be homeless and defecate in the street. Not all, but I think most people they'll do anything and everything to avoid work, an increasing percentage. And that addiction to laziness and sloth is so strong in the United States. Do you think it's going to stop at our borders? And this is the real interesting consequence for the rest of the globe. Americans are so spoiled and entitled. I don't think they're going to stop at the globe or stop at our borders. I think they're going to try to, just like they did the productive classes in the United States, villainize them. Oh, the 1%. Ooh, the whites. Ooh, the males, whatever, boogeyman. Ooh, the Jews. Ooh, straight people, Christian, whatever. If they're that psychopathic and that desperate and that addicted to laziness and sloth, they're not going to stop at the borders. And I started sitting there thinking about, like, wait a minute. They'll go after anyone. And you don't think, oh, no, America, very stable. This is not 1947 America anymore. This is not Dwight D. Eisenhower, sitting there. Watch the Nixon JFK debates and how reasoned and respectful it was. And then go watch it, Biden versus Trump. In this country, the leaders are pulled from the population. And you're going to have the Ocasio-Cortez at the heads of that. And after they run out of money, do you think they're going to just stop at U.S. borders? And it already is there. The numbers are already there. The United States is already parasitic upon the globe. I don't know the last time we had a positive trading balance. So we're always taking in more goods and services from the rest of the globe, particularly China and lots of parts of Asia. Current account balance, if you want to believe in that stuff, that's also negative. Our dependency ratio is going up. The amount of debt that foreigners hold of U.S. debt because we can't pay for our own stuff. We constantly print off more money, therefore devaluing your dollar-denominated assets. We are already a net parasite on the world's economy. We already have more people working to support our consumer lifestyle standards of living than we do producing and trade in a counter sense. And what I'm thinking is that the American people, all ranges, I don't care if you're the poorest black kid in the ghetto who's constantly propagandized by both your community and the schools that it's the evil white man holding you down, all the way to the most prestigious spoiled little brat like Ocasio-Cortez, Nancy Pelosi, or the mayor of Minneapolis before the current one. She was a spoiled little suburbanite brat. Everyone is not working. Nobody is supporting themselves across all socioeconomic classes. And you're either getting your money directly from the government in case of the poorer classes, or you're getting your money from mommy and daddy in the richer classes. Or if you're middle class, you borrow from the banks. You know, you get a bailout or something like that from the government printing off money. And as more recently with the stimmy checks. These people, and this is why I realize with MPs, there's no change in their mind. They will not accept anything but a life of leisure and luxury. They will not work. It's not until they're starving, and TFM says this, it's not until they're starving and their lives are literally threatened with it. And so what I see going on in the future is that you're going to have American socialism as a global tyranny. In an ironic sense, kind of like global communism was a threat to the globe. Except that was like rank communism. Here in the United States, it's this consumerist, arrogant, spoiled. Like there's never been a more spoiled group of people in the world than the Americans. Today. Never. And now you have coming up on 3 generations of Americans who never had to work a day in their lives, generally speaking, and are entitled. They will go to such, what, did they not burn down Minneapolis? Forget, it wasn't about the guy getting killed because he was high on whatever, fentanyl, all that. That was just the spark. The buildup was that they were told that they're so oppressed and that they're so unfair and this and that, even though they're getting all the government money in the world. They're spoiled little brats, petulant little children throwing a tantrum. Now, here's my question to the rest of the world. U.S. is still the largest reasonably producing GDP. We're certainly the largest, least corrupt economy. We are a stabilizing force in that regard. Where what's going to happen when the Ocasio-Cortezes and all that get in command of the United States military? This ain't going to be Dwight D. Eisenhower with his hands on the nuclear button. This is going to be Ocasio-Cortez. This is going to be, and by association, the American people whose fervent religious ideology is to live off of others so that they can continue having their free stuff imported from China. And the rest of you work and produce it. And we're not going to pay for it. We're not going to certainly going to work for it. These people are so addicted to their laziness and they are so psychopathic. I predict they will go and do anything they can to enslave the rest of the world, whatever means possible. Through economic sanctions, again, not talking about Russia right now. Not talking about that. Military threats. And do you think 50 years from now, you're going to have calm and reasoned people in charge of the U.S. nuclear arsenal? That's what I was thinking. Like, you're going to have a bunch of NPCs, leftist consumers, contradictorily, interesting enough, spoiled psychopaths in charge of the U.S. nuclear weapons system. I might see the beginning of it before I die. But I could see, because Americans are so addicted to consumerism and laziness and are so afraid of work and are so far up their own asses that you're going to have I wouldn't say a rogue state. You're going to have the world's pretty much sole superpower unconsciously trying to enslave the rest of the world to maintain our consumerism. We're already there technically. Y'all just keep accepting our debt. I don't know why, but we already consume more than we produce. We're already a net economic parasite. When is it we're just fully on the hammock, not producing anything? And we're like, oh, Saudis keep printing us the oil or getting the oil. China keep producing our stuff. Hey, keep making our cell phones, Korea. Oh, we need some food from the Ukraine. We need the food from the Russians. Hey, India, why don't you keep making our clothes and programming for us, by the way? Well, we're just Americans. We just sit here. What do? We be Americans? Yeah, we made movies. We made movies. And I think this is a threat pretty much the rest of the globe gets to face. Where as America decays more and more into a spoiled, petulant, psychopathic, entitled child, a spoiled little brat that has nuclear weapons, what are you guys going to do? And I think a threat, not identical, but having a lot of the same similarities as global communism did back in the Cold War days. I think that is something, Putin may be like, now we could bring in like, who's going to stand up to it? Well, it's China and Russia. I won't lie. I'm kind of like, I'm glad United States is kind of like the whole West in general is like, no, you're not the only people on this block. No, we're going to do this. I like seeing an alternative payment. I like competition, especially among governments, because that prevents tyranny. Was it the irony? The CCP is fighting tyranny at this point. But just, it's not today or tomorrow, but it's going to be a nice general slide and decay into the day is coming. The American people are stupid enough to put a mentally ill, just a truly stupid person who's only governed by her hatred of people who worked harder than her politics, like Ocasio-Cortez. And so that you're going to beg for the days where it was a bunch of old grumpy white dudes in charge of the military nuclear arsenal instead of a bunch of sociopaths all ginned up on hatred politics but we're not going to work. We're not going to, you could see this. It's already here in the United States, but I think a very good example of this, I believe it was Peru. And this goes back 15, 20 years ago. One of the native Indian population representatives got elected into the Peruvian, or maybe it was Ecuador. I'm pretty sure it was Peru, though. He got elected into as president of Peru. And he filled his cabinet with a bunch of he was ahead of his time, bunch of worthless SJW people. I don't think Peru's finances improve, but that is who's going to be in charge of the U.S. military. And as you all know, it's not just the military. That's kind of like the last option. That's like the ace up their sleeves the U.S. got. We got every other thing like, oh, we got the infrastructure. We got military bases. We got this. We got that. Do what we say. Thousands of options on the table with the U.S. economy and government can influence and strong arm the rest of the world's economies and countries to do as we wish. That is a big threat. Oh, you didn't like Reagan. Oh, boo, Republicans. Oh, the evil white man. Oh, geez, you're going to be wishing that Donald Rumsfeld was back in charge. You're going to wish James Baker, I think James Baker was Secretary of State on it. You're going to wish for those boring old days of JFK. You're going to wish everyone looked like they were working for NASA with their standard white ties and their white shirts being all boring. You're going to wish for those days because there's going to be a bunch of SJWs in charge of the United States nuclear facilities. And they are addicted to other people's money, and they are deathly afraid of work. And I think they'll destroy the world before they have to work a real job. I think they will. That's where we're going now, at least 20 years out. But the way I'm looking, the way we're going, and the more fanatical, not thinking, I see these people who, no matter what religion or reason or whatever, no matter what page they borrow from Noam Chomsky, they use to say, I shouldn't have to work because of this reason. It all is to say they don't want to work. And they will kill all of you if they have to. They will. They will. Before they get a job, I think they'll kill all of you. They'll try and slave you first. But you're not going to stop a consumer's material Tina from Edina who needs her latest iPhone. You're not going to stop, Hank the homeless from getting his government checks and food imported from South America. They're going to demand it. If you don't, I think the point in time will come of like, if you don't, there's going to be a U.S. aircraft carrier. And it ain't going to be, Admiral Nimitz ain't going to be in charge of it. It's going to be some psychopathic leftist ideologue who thinks that, who's in their mind will rationalize the reason that your country has oppressed them somehow. There's a possibility. I don't know if that day is coming, but that's what I thought. All right. Let's go to the super chats. Go up to the tops if there are any. Travis Schneider, 10 generous dollars. This is for some food for the dog of no real value, for in-depth research into leftism, what it is and where it came from. It's laziness. It's all it is. It's not that hard. It's laziness. Leftism, whatever its variant, is an excuse not to work. More modernly, because those people with that trait are oppressing me who doesn't have that trait. That's it. That's generally what it is. And if you criticize that, if you call me lazy, then you hate whatever, women, black people, minorities. It's like, no, I hate lazy people. By the way, why are you ruining the reputation of black people or women, claiming that why are you hiding your laziness and giving a bad reputation to that group of people? You should be ashamed of yourself. You're the true traitor. You're the true Uncle Tom there. Well, are all black people lazy like you? Just suck all the oxygen out of there. I mean, yeah, sit there, shut up and spin. Check out newdiscourses.com and James Lindsay. If I have time. I got a lot of requests to do today. I got to watch Death Note. I'm going to finish that. Cappy's taking some time off. The weather's been cooperative. What do you mean by that? It's too windy outside to go do anything. So I don't have any guilt or shame. That's it. All right, there you guys go. Hope that was somewhat interesting. Questions, answers, asshole.consulting.com. Links to something down below. I linked to something really important everyone should pay me money for down below. We'll see you guys later.